Hi, willkommen zum. Okay, nochmal cut.
Welcome to the Post World Podcast, 6th edition, recorded at Karl Marx Studios bunker somewhere in Berlin. Today we have a very special guest. He's a friend of the house, the Virus, Mr. Philipp Virus. Thank you for coming.
Hey, Pablo and Sven. Nice. Happy to be here.
Philipp, you are a director, producer, visual artist, video clip director. You also did live visuals. You are like a pioneer VJ in a way. And from all of those stuff, what do you feel represents you the most from those activities, let's say?
Whew. Thanks first. I probably go with that every year in my life or every moment I was professionally doing something or interested in something that I gave it space. So I believe most of the time I worked with music videos and, band and live recording of bands. Besides, I had as a hobby to archive and document bands. Live shows were not that often, like I would film something or would do a music video. So it was always a very special thing. And at that point of my life, I just finished a full documentary, which will be released in cinemas about the band Dinosaur Junior. It's called Freak Scene. The
Yes.
story of Dinosaur Junior. So I'm
Yeah.
at the moment, I have to say, I love doing long time projects, that you really have the space and the mind to, come up with something longer than 4 minutes. And that includes as well a big interest that I still haven't done a real feature film or like a, fictional story, like a full length one. So that's really a big dream of mine. But at the moment, I feel really comfortable in documentary films, and there's after Freak Scene, there will be another thing as well.
You made more than 40 video clips, is that right?
40?
Yeah.
I guess it's more like 140.
Ah, wow. Then I read an old bio.
It's like really a lot of different music videos, like
Okay.
from, like from DIY, no budget to,
Yeah.
yeah.
You also have a long-term relation with some bands like Atari Teenage Riot, Alec Empire, or Dinosaur Junior. Um, how do you feel? Why do you think this is that you tend, if I'm right, to have these close relations with the musicians? You think this is something that you do consciously, or um, something that just happened because of how your story went?
It's interesting. It's maybe an interest in music, which always made me, like being magnetized by music. And the thing is, Alec Empire is my oldest friend and neighbor. We kind of grew up in the same street, so I know him since childhood days, and we were, teenage friends. And then he started a punk band on guitars, and that turned into electronica and Atari. And I think it came out of friendship. I took photo cameras, video cameras, and I anyway would be with my friends. So why not, if I'm already not in the band, why not doing it something, which kind of, that you kind of make something out of it, out of your presence in that moment. And with Dinosaur, maybe it was similar. We were just like really, I'm a big fan of Jay Mascis and his music and the Dinosaur band since long time and since day one. And when I met him in New York, we were just friends right away, like really friends, you know. So, and he would ask, let me do some stuff, visual stuff or artworks. I did as well a lot of record covers for Atari and at that time for Jay as well. So has to do with friendship, music, interest, film, love, anyway, cinematic, and trying to, you know, give a cinematic point of view or visualize
Yeah,
energy.
but that's something where I wanted to go because your language being, let's say, visual language or video, the tool you had to join the band, so to say, was playing video as you would play music in a way with live visuals already like in mid 90s, which this was not very common, you know. I find that very interesting because there's a relation of live video and music, you know. It has this time-based thing, you know, that you can play and it can go with the music and it can be part of the whole in a way.
For me, it's really like how you describe it. It's like I was really happy that at some point, I mean, it's not that the VJ mixing, you know, it's an evolution in art and music and visuals. So I'm not saying that the VJ mixing we did in the mid 90s was the new invention. What it was that it was really, really close to the DJ culture, which was at that time kind of new, you know, because there were new machines. There were all of the sudden video cards. You could have a Mac 95. You could buy video cards, do DIY stuff. The sample technology musicians used was basically a year later copied by video companies. And we, at that point, just used for video mixing VHS players
I
and
know.
video mixers,
I
you
saw a
know?
video from you VJing with VHS players, and I totally like it also from the visual aspect. You know, like playing with something very concrete, let's say. You know, and the roughness to it in a way that might have to do something. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, with certain kind of punk attitude that I know you have because I know you as a person. But I also realized that in the music you make collaborations with either from the titles of the songs, either from the topics, either from the scene itself. Is also like post-punk world or vision in a way. Is there something of that there?
Yeah,
Or?
it's like the visual side. I was like, for me, we used, for example, the VHS tapes and prepared mixtapes. What punk DJs at some point of technology did as well, and of course then CDs. We were able to use CDs and burn stuff. So till DVDs came to scratch, we prepared on VHS. I prepared mixtapes, you know. I would use my Mac, scratch on the Mac, record it on a VHS tape, and then have it ready for a two VHS deck mix. So it's
Amazing. Yeah.
kind of funny, and you could shuttle certain machines that you had an impression that there's a fast forward, time lapse, or slow motion, which was without any, you know, like distortion. It just was really organic. So these two machines with a video mixer, simple one, enabled me to do big festivals. And yeah, Alec would, for example, play music, and we did even VJ battles.
I
And
know. Yeah.
it's like
DJ
really
DJ
funny.
battles.
Yeah.
Exactly in the year 2000.
We did stuff like this even earlier, but there
Yeah.
was then at some point some German television people thought it would be cool to have us on national television, late night program live
Yeah, I saw that.
versus DJ Spooky from New York and his visual partner. So that was quite something for that time. because we would use as well really crazy footage, like you don't show really on TV.
You mean using Hitler in your visual mix on national TV?
I used my first animation. I did an animation back in the day, I think in '98, where the one member of Atari Teenage Riot shoots Adolf Hitler in his famous in a war speech, and it's I
Yeah,
just took like world famous old Hitler footage and put
yeah,
Carl Crack in it, how he is like an Afro American Black Panther
yeah.
just shoots Adolf's head away. So that's like one thing we showed, and I remember like they were pixelating it live. So there was kind of a at that
Censorship.
time censorship, live censorship from the directors of the show.
Of course,
But
you
I
never told them that you were going to do
no, they
that.
were like they had like this probably like we did our video mixes live. They had the button to, all right, we have to press here. But in a way, I could understand it. Like it's all right, whatever.
Yeah. But this whatever attitude has to do with this punk, let's say, approach to either music or video or live shows. Um, I think this is sometimes you would think there's a cause, like you're militant for certain cause or for a certain political view, and so. But I know you are not. You have a special, like whatever punk attitude regarding also having one only cause. You don't have a cause that you say I fight for this cause.
I'm a big fan of humanity. I can say that, and I'm like not so easy to put a flag on my territory or like I don't like that too much. So
You don't like flags too much.
no.
Typical punk.
No, and I'm in the visuals I did at that time with Atari Teenage Riot, it was of course like it had the music was really system critical,
Yes.
and for that time there were like Kosovo wars. There was then 2000, the whole
Yeah.
World Trade Center thing came,
Yeah.
and it was an worldwide aggressive time which we
Yeah.
witnessed recently as well, like like
Yeah.
so it was kind of a reaction to a lot of bad stuff which was going on,
And very provocative titles for the song, like Germany Must Die or things like
yeah,
that.
that was Alex, Deutschland has it's like, of course, what you said with punk attitude. There is a confrontational, you know a confrontational level you give out, and I thought we were pretty high alert with many things
Yeah.
going like really in the face, and that made it as well artistically interesting because I'm a big fan of Dada works from the 20s and 30s,
Yeah.
and during that time, and John Hartfield and other people, so the punk or this whole thing in a mix of the technology we were at that time in the 90s, and 90s,
Yeah.
then the switch into the new millennium. Now we are in 21 post or in the middle of still a pandemic not
Yes.
really stopping. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of crazy. But of course, I got older and you see the same things from that time didn't go away. um, Maybe it gets more articulated in our language more and more, certain things, but still, it's
Yeah, this certainly felt like a time where something could change for good also, because it was a turning point for so many things. And it was also, I think, after 9/11. And so this feeling of when everything is like this destroying itself or destroyed, there's also a possibility of reconstruct, and there was this kind of feeling, especially for uh, as you say, people that still maybe didn't live so much to realize that some things still repeat, yeah, and you start seeing cycles and so, and maybe this give you a different worldview, on things, or how to be punk, for example, when you realize that sadly maybe some things can you are not so immediate, that there are cycles in history and society and culture and so on. It's not so easy to look through them in a way. And you said you met Alec Empire in New York. No, the Dinosaur Junior in New
Mm.
York, but you're originally from Germany,
Yeah,
West
I'm
Germany.
Berlin, West Berlin born,
Yeah,
and grew up like kind of in a suburb of northern parts of Berlin, right next to the wall. Pretty safe area. Berlin was always a cool, crazy location, to grow up, and
yeah,
especially during the wall. And I think this whole, yeah, the wall, that we were limited with our uh, territorial freedom to, you were, at the end of the day, there was an end of something where you could go, and there was like self-shooting systems and German shepherds. You could see that it's like people get shot or killed if you cross that border.
at the corner, let's say.
Yeah, at the
Well,
corner, like it's like where we had our forest to drive around on bikes as teenagers. Alec was there as well. uh, it had a really sci-fi Jules Verne energy, and for sure a big impact as well on certain things and point of views. And Berlin was as well famous for being an island in Germany. People would, if they would live there, they don't have to go to the army.
hmm,
Um, you There was a squatter scene, and so it was always
hmm.
like a kitchen for cultural
For counterculture.
disharmony, yeah,
Yeah,
counterculture, like big
totally.
time. So, and it really had a huge impact on the street life, on everything. Berlin, when you would go out at night, we had the chance at the age of 14. We went to shows. Our parents even would drive us and pick us up, that we could do these experiments.
Yeah.
So, which was fun. And Berlin in the beginning 80s and mid 80s was a crazy, really crazy place to grow up.
I can imagine. And
Yeah.
as you said, it was the born in, how do you say, a bed of a lot of counterculture movements, and this punk and post-punk avant-garde movements. The same happened also in England, for example, in opposition to a very strict and right-wing society, So this definitely marks a context from which interesting avant-garde movements are born, And this is one of those cyclic things that you see along at least 20th century to hear history, I find that very um, interesting because it's making something good out of something creative out of very dark times, usually.
That's true.
And do you think do you think this marked in some way how things developed for you? This experience of coming from the Berlin Wall and so.
How I feel now about, or
If
where
you
we are.
if you are conscious of some incidents this had in your work or
Yeah.
your life.
I would say, if we talk about Berlin now in combination with my life, I mean, I stayed in Berlin my life as a living center because I'm a father of two children, and so and I was traveling always enough in my during the year that I never felt bored or something, being living here. Plus, like they're just really my family and friends are all here. So, but I have to say, Berlin really changed a lot, and I cannot say that I like it too much, but things change. So I don't want to be the guy who is living in the past and missing the past. I kind of hate that. So I'm not doing that. But it feels what happened to New York, like it's somehow the classic gentrification. Apartments get bought by really wealthy people, and
Yeah, capitalism.
the
Hello.
capitalism took over with the tentacles and sucks a lot of energies and spirits dry, and I think we all can see it. The pandemic was really tough for culture anyway.
It's
As
true.
an
Yeah.
artist, it was really hard to survive, and I'm sure I'm really talking here for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious what happens now, actually. Like it feels like stuff is opening up when we're anyway, again, really close to a lockdown
Yes.
somehow. It
That's
feels like
crazy.
this is coming back again. People are a little bit too fast for political reasons. Maybe it's the politicians who have an election soon, so it's a little bit more easy for everybody. I'm sure it changes again in wintertime. Let's knock on wood. That all will be good, but I doubt it. It's just really, on one side, we are in a real cultural transformation
Yeah.
caused by a global event, which makes us all react somehow. And
Are you
it's like
hopeful about that? You think this will have maybe positive outcome?
it had some positive outcomes already in some areas, and in some areas it just the same old things go on, like, and I'm I'm a little bit critical with being too idealistic about things, I rather, you know, go on with the work I'm doing
Yeah.
and try to, yeah, fight for the artistic life,
Yeah.
whatever that means.
And the right to party,
I'm
don't forget.
yeah, this is like I kind of, with the right for party is for me a different topic, but let's say it's important that people gather and have an exchange of energies in whatever way, like sharing music together, enjoying music, dancing, like all this. It's
Also, you had a life and professional life similar to a musician in a way because you were going on tour a lot or presenting films at festivals or doing live shows for musicians on tour also. So this affects you to your activities particularly, no?
lately not, because like I wasn't doing that too much anymore,
Okay.
like I'm not um I was the last years really working on the film and longer projects, and it's crazy how time consuming the
Yeah.
stuff is, because it's not that fast, everything like what is needed from you to it's a step by step thing which goes on.
It was the first documentary you said, no?
Yeah,
Or
it's my
yeah.
first like documentary, yeah.
And you want to go more down this route, let's say, format wise.
I think that's for me. It's definitely format-wise a thing. I'm happy I did one thing, and we are like creating like a network for the film right now with my partners from Rapid Eye Movies. They're from Cologne, and they're super awesome film people who really, as well. It's about energy and the love for film
Yeah.
and music,
Yeah.
and so we try to put our idealistic ideas into our projects, and spread it as much as we can. And I'm I hope that I would do in the near future a documentary about Atari, because I have everything filmed when it happened, and I digitized everything, and I'm like looking into that. It's all not made in stone or cut in stone. I don't know details or what happens or not, but it's really on top of my list. So
Yeah.
it will be another documentary, and other things would be really a feature or something. But that's all. Let's
It's
see.
interesting because you're making documentaries about bands you had a long relationship
Yeah.
with, making videos for. So in a way, it's also referential up to some extent. It's an exploration also on your own work from the
Yeah,
past.
exactly. It's something which was filmed when it happened, like, which makes it really interesting as well. The next thing, when I think about the freak scene thing, I joined later in 2005 with a band. I filmed earlier already, but like they have a visual archive I researched together with other people. And but this time it's me who shot everything. So there is like really my own visual archive
Yeah.
involved in that, and it's lying around, and it makes sense to, it's a good moment probably.
Talking about the shooting, you were also cameraman in some projects, and something that surprised me a lot was this Bruno S. I think it's short film or medium.
It's a documentary about Bruno
Yeah.
S as well, a real one. It's to people who don't know Bruno S. It's the famous German director Werner Herzog made.
Kaspar Hauser, no?
Yeah, Kaspar Hauser and Strossek found this actor who was, I don't know how to say it exactly right, but he probably was autistic, and he survived Nazi experiments as a child, and it's like a really moving story emotionally. And Herzog would work with him on two of his first really successful movies, which caught all attention in Cannes Film Fest and won prizes in
Yeah.
Europe. So
And then he
my
was forgotten in a way as
yeah, and
an
then he
actor.
was forgotten. He was a street artist, musician
Ah,
in
okay.
Berlin. He would like beg, like not begging, but he would play music with his like accordion or like these quetch, like these little
Yeah.
organs, and would walk around. And my friend and partner in crime and collaborator Miron Zovnir, who is
Yeah.
an extreme photographer and
Yeah, I know
filmmaker,
Mirror. He's a very interesting artist. Yeah.
yeah, he came to me. I was preparing I was, how is it called? Doing an exhibition called Global Ghetto, which I curated. And I picked
Okay.
Miron out among Chris Cunningham, the music video director, Miron, and some other people.
Wow.
And that was an amazing show, Global Ghetto, in 2000, it was
Where
called,
was it?
in the Academy of Arts and Künstlerhaus Britannien.
Yeah, I saw it. Academy der Künste.
Yeah. And so out of that exhibition, Miron and me became like kind of friends, and he asked me if I could take a look at his Bruno S documentary, which was unfinished, and he thought he needs more film and more energy. So we started working on it and filming, and it took another year maybe, and then we finished it. I edited, and we had like we had a world premiere at the Berlin Film Festival in the Panorama program, and we had a fantastic, like output with festivals with this film. And it's really moving, touching thing, and really exactly the opposite from what I did before. That's where
Yeah.
your question came from.
Exactly. Exactly. And this was included in a special DVD edition with the
Yeah,
film
yeah.
that I watched because it was in the video library from my university when I was studying film.
That is so funny. Yeah, like Herzog, we had really funny. Herzog was at Toronto Film Festival with his Grizzly Man movie,
Yeah.
and we were there as well. Miron was there with the Bruno S film, and he recommended to everybody to watch the movie, and he really liked it. And he put us on a French DVD release of all his works. The film is on a French DVD Werner Herzog box set. Our
Wow.
movie is in that box set, which was a big
Amazing.
honor, and really happy about it.
Well, French for film is a
Yeah,
very high respected language, let's say.
yeah.
And when you were in New York, is because you were living there, or were you just with this dinosaur thing? And so you told me you met in New York, but you were living there at the time? No.
No, my sister started living there, and it's funny. So basically, my sister started living in New York and had a boyfriend whom she married. And this guy worked with the Beastie Boys. And he somehow, me and him were friends, of course, and I gave him the music. So at the end of the day, the Beastie Boys signed Atari for the US on their label. And I was already once a year to visit my sister in New York, but from 95 on, 94, 95, 95 on, Atari was working with the Beastie Boys in New York. So there was a lot of flying over there to
For
do
work.
videos for work. They did tours. I joined in and was happy to join in.
Nice.
And my friend Jay Mascis, I met in '93, I believe, at some big fest, and we became friends. So I had like really New York as my favorite city for many years, you know.
Berlin must be hurt.
But Berlin was cool as well. It was the beginning of the '90s, electronic, you know, the whole thing
Should
with
have
it.
been a very interesting time, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. So New York it felt in the '90s like a second home, my second favorite
Yeah.
city. But which then before the World Trade Center fell apart, I had the summer before, I said to my sister, it's so weird. Something is happening with New York, you know, like it's scary. I don't know what it is. And then this happened.
Wow.
And, you know, already before New York got kind of cleaned, you know, but then after 9/11, then it got, I mean, you were even not allowed to, then Giuliani was the mayor of New York. You were
Yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
allowed to dance in a club. Can you imagine? You needed a license for dancing all of this.
Yeah, we had that in Buenos Aires too, or in the whole Argentina. I don't remember when there was this fire on a very iconic rock club, and this lasted for a couple of years. That it was prohibited to dance.
Wirklich. That there were signs, thanks for not dancing. You were
Yeah,
like, I took a
exactly.
photo of it. I'm
Yeah.
like, you guys suck.
And how was your relationship with the music industry? When did it started in a way?
I have to say, when it comes to bigger companies or stuff, I always kind of hated it because it's like, you know, it's the people you work with. And if from a company somebody was okay, it didn't mean that the company was okay, you know, or like
True.
the people behave right or treated the artist or me right, you know. So I have a really mixed feelings about major labels because I did work with kind of everything in Germany, in the US, in different decades even. And it always goes and falls with the characters involved. You know, like you can be lucky, you can't be, but at the end of the day, music industry kind of died in 96, 97, you know, like, and it was really visible for me. We were even maybe part of it that it died. Or not, I don't want to go that far to say that somebody did, but it was the technology.
There
And
was a paradigm change.
there was a digital revolution happening. And that really, the internet got more and more bigger. Then, if you remember the early, what was it called, the first copyright with Napster, blah
Yes,
blah.
of course.
There was like so many things.
Metallica.
Yeah, there were so many things happening during that time,
Yeah,
which really turned the old industry upside down. I
yeah,
witnessed the old industry. There was like bigger budgets for everything. It was you had a contract, then you
yeah.
really had a contract. And on one side, this creativity freedom was so exciting,
Hmm.
kind of and pirating the mainstream culture and
Yeah.
destroying it, which is like which was crazy at that time.
It's similar to when video also appeared and what happened to film industry, you
Yeah.
know. These are changes that affect economy of the industry, the way you consume it. It changes the format also, and sometimes the narrative of the productions. And in the case of the music industry, I think in the 90s also died something that had to do with the system of or how you would find and develop an artist or a band and so, you know, and this totally changed also with internet. Um, because basically anyone could start to uploading their own music, you know. And so there was a huge change. I remember Napster times already, and this was a symptom of this system that was not working already, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one thing I remember that, I mean, I started with 16 millimeter film cameras to shoot a music video. That was a standard you would use, you know,
Mm-hmm.
old film technology, or not old, but
Yeah,
so this whole thing got replaced, you know, when all of a sudden there were consumer, what you just said, with the video cameras. You could
yes,
buy a camera for
exactly.
not so much money and could do stuff. Then the Macs were able to do video for no money. So it was like really a crazy time. And if you look back on that time and you look now, now we are there that that change is so manifested in our daily life from the industry that artists and everybody kind of gets screwed up,
Yeah,
you know, and that this digital flat rate or what fuck anything, beep beep
beep.
beep beep beep. You can do always peeps now.
Of course, we
Beep
will add
beep
all the
beep
beeps,
beep beep.
all the beeps we need. Don't worry.
So I don't know. It's like just crazy. We arrived at somewhere where you see that the artistic value maybe of for people surviving from what they're doing is like gets really difficult, and it's
Yeah,
big challenge to be an artist at these days. It's
yeah.
like not easy.
And it was an interesting time when you said before this change, um, where it was still like on CDs and the packaging and the whole mystic of having to go to the record store to get your thing. And maybe you also get a video or a compilation of videos from the label, you know, but also from the record store. And everything was more, let's say, an object, you know, that you could like have in your hands and so. And this completely changed in a way. You also had compilation of videos released by a label as a video clip album, something like that, no?
Yeah.
From digital hardcore
That was like,
recordings.
yeah, well, I really loved it. You know, it was the DVD technology, which is even now kind of not there anymore. VHS,
Obsolete.
all these systems, people maybe not know what I'm talking about, but it's like, it's kind of funny, yeah. The label of Alec Digital Hardcore Recordings, they were cool with, we were doing so many music videos for the bands they had on their label. And it was just nice that there was a support to share and accept as well that these videos are part, they are kind of a product as well, you know,
Of
like
course.
in a way.
In many ways, I would
Yeah, in
say.
many ways, but from the legal side, a music video you do is like a buyout, you know. I do it, I have no rights on anything. I get paid and that's it. So it's different than a musician, like who is putting something out. So the music video thing has, or for people who do it, maybe there's like, it's not so protected, the visual side, like the audio side.
It's not so represented the author
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
you feel there's more an authorial imprint in doing documentary as a film
Yeah,
director, for example,
yeah.
no? Yeah, I can understand that. Even so, it's very interesting when you have these people that could construct a name out of making music for video clips, because it was such a new format in a way, it was new in a way, and there's some interesting examples of that, especially during the 90s. I think this is something that it's not so hype anymore, or maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, like video clip director as someone people would recognize.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard. I think it's just so technology. I mean, you can do an amazing music video with your iPhone and effects you have on whatever,
Instagram.
Talk or whatever,
TikTok.
TikTok.
Exact.
So it's hard to, it's just such a big competition, and people as well, the new generations are technically so advanced. Musically, you have to do so many things. Kids these days are already used to it. It starts with the social
Yeah.
media, Insta, blah, whatever. How it's produced, people have amazing equipment, like, and they have to do so much. It feels like they have to do even more than back in the day.
Sometimes it
So it
feels
feels
like that.
like,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that they have the charisma or the talent to really take
Or the
off,
language, or
or
the
the
visual
language or
language.
the energy. So it's hard. So I'm always to recognize a video these days from a guy. First of all, they are not, the interest of people is not, before there was one TV channel in Europe which played the whole day music videos.
Yeah.
So people zapped in, and it was a really clear target to, join.
Yeah.
It's to spread everything. You have YouTube, you have this. There is no TV. People are not on one easy go. You have the whole
Yeah,
world
there's
as
an
a
overload
click.
of information, let's
Yeah,
say.
it's not concentrated on one thing. It's spread like crazy, and there's just so many things.
And so, do you feel like continuing doing video clips?
Yeah,
Or
I still like that. I haven't done the last ones I did last year. Uh, kind of have a break from it, but a healthy one. Not that I don't want to do it. It's just like there was not really nobody. I'm always a big fan of music, so it can happen that I even find a band really interesting, and I say, "Hey, if you ever need something,
yeah,
call me."
yeah,
You know, or and at the moment, I think I'm so absorbed with the other stuff that the maybe I don't shine out the, hey, I'm doing music videos right now, but I still like to do it if people ask me.
And now with the film you are presenting, um, it's you are preparing like a tour.
Yeah, I'm really psyched. We make for the Freak Scene the story of Dinosaur Junior film, which is an 82-minute documentary about the band starting in the 80s. There's like tons of my favorite bands involved and nice guests in the film. So it's kind of the birth of indie rock till
Yeah,
now.
I have to say, for someone that is not so informed about this particular scene, it has a lot. I'm talking about myself. It has a lot of music historian info. It's very, very full on this kind of info that will help you position bands that are maybe more popular and understand where they come from or which was the influence,
Yeah.
which I found very interesting about the film.
It's maybe for people who don't know, it was like it's a band who created a really loud, noisy rock punk mix, which got later preferred with bands like Nirvana as grunge.
Exactly, that's what I
But
want.
my
Yeah,
film starts in '85 when they started, and it goes till now, and it's just an interesting band's history. It has, as I mentioned, like really nice guests from Henry Rollins to Kim Gordon, from Bob Mould to Kevin Fields. There's Matt Dillon in it, and like like interesting stories on music and their music.
yeah, because spoiler alert, you could say that they influenced early grunge music or something like that. Am
Yeah,
I wrong?
yeah, no, you're right. So and we have a theatrical release in September in Germany, and I think German-speaking countries. I'm not. They're working on details. It's difficult, as we know, with the corona to
Yeah.
100% plan, but it looks like that I will be in September in all the important cities for a screening and like that I'm in the cinema when it premieres. So
Yeah.
there's a little tour to Hamburg, Berlin, Cologne, Düsseldorf, Munich, Frankfurt, Leipzig, and stuff like that.
Wow. Okay. Good luck.
Yeah.
On that tour. It's amazing to go kind of on tour. Are you going also or just
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
no,
Nice.
I'm psyched about
Yeah.
it. Like I thought I'd just do it with my car. Like I would just old school take my
Really?
car. Yeah,
Old school
yeah. I
style.
go. I think I just take my car and make my little road time
Yeah.
from cinema to cinema in Germany.
Amazing. Congratulations and
Thanks.
thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
I forgot about the end part. I'm sorry.